can make a note. I will just put up this in chat box. Look, this chat box. You can just later you can watch this. I'm going to explain this what exactly you are seeing in this applet simulation. So here we are going to understand ionic bonding formation. Okay, just to have a look at this. Uh, this box, as you are seeing here, this is basically ionic bonding tutorial. The box contains both negatively two negatively charged ions, okay, that you are seeing here with minus sign and minus sign, and you can see here.
Sorry,
Yeah,
so sorry to have interrupted you, sir.
yeah.
Sir, today's your voice is a little low, sir, as compared to the previous day.
1 minute. Just increase volume.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah. I think now you can see there are two in this box. You can see there are two negative ions. Okay, and if we bring close to this ion, see what is happening. Can you observe here? Okay, there are like two negatively charged ions, as you can see here. I'll just place and leave it. What is happening? You observe here. This shows that like charges repel each other. Are you seeing this? Okay. So this is what happens here. This is not the case when you have opposite types of the ions. So this example here shows when two negatively charged ions, when you drag them close to each other, they get repel. Okay. Now let's have a look at opposite kind of ions. So here one of the ion is positively charged and other one is negatively charged. Now let us see if I move very close to each other, what happened now? They attracted each other. Okay, so you can see, let me close them again. See, even though I place far away and leave this ion, if too much of far away, that doesn't attract. At least sufficient distance if you can maintain, so these ions get attract each other. If you can even place one above other, they get overlap. This is what you see in when the two ions are of opposite charges. Uh, the summary is as shown here. The oppositely charged ions attract each other when they are close enough. They stick together. As you are seeing here, they are sticking together. And you can see that how to build ionic components in the next tutorial, next part. Opposite charges attract each other, attract or stick together. Okay. So like charges repel each other. We have seen that in the first slide. Okay. In order to build an ionic compound that sticks together, you need to have opposite charges. You remember that in the first class we are given, and last class in fact, okay, we are given example of sodium chloride in the formation of ionic bonding. To illustrate that, this applet will help you to understand. Okay, the like charges, they repel each other, opposite charges attract each other. Okay, this tutorial helps you to understand this ionic kind of bonding formation. Example, sodium chloride that we have given. Okay, so here again the opposite charges, they tend to attract each other. Okay, both should have positive and negative ions. This kind of ions are required in order to form a ionic bonding. That means if the ions are of the same type, okay, you cannot make ionic bonding. Ionic bonding formation will not take place. When the ions are of opposite type, then ionic bonding formation will take place. We can look at here example. So the positive ion is formed from an atom that has tendency to lose electron. Since metal can easily lose electrons, the positive ion will be usually a metal. Can you remember the example, in our example, what we have given? What kind of element we have chosen as a metal? It is sodium. You remember that? Sodium is the example.
Yes, sir.
Sodium is an example we have chosen, and sodium will tend to lose an electron to the chlorine. And the chlorine is a non-metal that we have chosen that will tend to attract electron from the sodium. So you can see that this any metal you can choose in the formation of ionic bonding. In our example, we have chosen sodium. Okay, the atoms on the left side of the periodic table tend to form positive ions. They lose electron and they tend to form a positive ion. Okay, on another side you can see the negative ion is formed from an atom that has tendency to gain electron. In our example, chlorine we have chosen that has a tendency to gain electron, and they are basically a non-metals. non-metals form ions by gaining electrons. The negative ion will be usually a non-metal. So in our example, chlorine we have chosen, that is a non-metal that accepts electron from the sodium. Okay, so atoms on the right side of the periodic table tend to form negative ions. They attract electron from the metals and forms negative ions. So far we have learned metals form positive ions, non-metals form negative ions. Therefore, metals and non-metals can bond together in forming an ionic bond. Okay, let's look at a closer view how this process works. This is an example what we have chosen Na in the left side of the periodic table. So that is a metal. Non-metal is a chlorine which we have chosen from the right side of the periodic table. So these two elements forms the ionic bonding, since sodium loses electron and it becomes positive. Chlorine gains electron, it becomes negative ion. Okay, so this is what you have seen here. So chlorine atoms have strong attraction of electrons. Under certain circumstances, the chlorine atom will be able to take one electron from the sodium atom. So this chlorine will take one electron from the sodium, from the Na, and this becomes negatively charged. An electron is ripped from the sodium atom, turning it into a positively charged ion. This Na becomes Na plus and Cl becomes Cl minus. The chlorine atom gains the electron and becomes negatively charged ion called as a chloride. Okay, now you can see here. Okay, so this sodium donated an electron to the chlorine becomes Cl minus, and the Na becomes Na plus because it has lost an electron. The two atoms are now oppositely charged. You can see that they are oppositely charged and are called as ions now. So this is a chlorine ion and negative ion, and this is positive ion. Since two ions have opposite charges, they are attracted to each other and they form a bonding called as ionic bonding. The two ions are held together by the attraction between the opposite charges. So this is called an ionic bonding. Okay. So the process you just saw was the simplification. Let's look at again in the way that are most closely resembles the way the atoms would have attracted in the real world, interact in the real world. So you can see in the real world the chlorine is typically a gas, and sodium is going to be a solid metal. When you heat it up, this gets vaporized, and it forms a bond with the chloride here. Okay, it reacts with the chlorine and forms ionic bonding. So in this example, we have two sodium molecules and two chlorine molecules. Let us see that how they react with each other. Okay. So now you can see that they tend to attract with opposite signs, and the end result is that each Na ion is bonded to a negative chloride ion. Okay. The opposite charges attract each other, and what happens next. You can see the next what happens here. The positive ions will attract any negative ion surrounding them, just as negative ions will attract any positive ions nearby, and it forms a bonding. Okay. So this is what you are seeing here. So many such ion pairs, spontaneously you can self-assemble into the ion crystal. What you are seeing here. Okay. So now you can see that it forms a ionic kind of bonding with opposite kind of ions. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
excuse me, sir. Sir, if we place one sodium atom and two chlorine atom, then sir, what will happen? Because sodium has one valence, so it should make bond with one chlorine atom. So, but as you said, the property that sodium is a metal, so it will attract non-metal, positive charge, negative charge. So, will it attract both the chlorine atom or only one chlorine atom?
That's a good.
That chloride ion.
Yeah, I understand your question. You are saying that there is a one sodium and two chloride. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In such case, the two chlorine atoms, uh, because there is only one sodium atom is present, so definitely it will attract, or attract to the sodium atom. Okay. You mean to say that two chlorine atoms and one, it forms the again the bonding called as ionic bonding. Okay. One chlorine atom. Yeah.
sir, both of them will get attracted to sodium atom.
Correct.
Both the chloride.
Correct. Okay, that example you will see in the next covalent bonding. What happens, see, when we have a single atom, there you will understand better when we have one sodium atom and two chloride atoms. So in case of the covalent bonding, that example will be more clear in my opinion. Probably here
So that happens in case of magnesium, I guess, MgCl2, because that valency is 2. How can sodium atom can make?
Sir,
yes.
hello.
Tell me, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, if NaCl, when you put 2Cl and one sodium atom at the ground level, when the no heat is given to the sodium atom, then it will release only one electron to join the bonding with only one chlorine atom. When the external heat is supplied to the sodium metal, it will emit the radiation and it will remove the outermost part of the electron also. Then we'll get the bond in the form of ionic.
I think that answers your question. Yeah, other guy asked the question now. Okay. Is it clear to you what he said?
No, sir, I have heard about that concept, that excitation energy and something, but that is not related to this ionic bonding. I have not heard about that.
This is the same concept that you have, the formula of minus 13.6 into z square by 9 square. Z represent the number of, the number of, Z represent the atom number and N represent the number of electron. They are following the same rule. They are following the same rules for the excitation energy. They are following this time. If you put two chlorine and one sodium atom, then they are following this kind of rule with a minus negative energy.
Correct. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
that is different thing, I guess. That I've heard in I've learned in this radioactivity, this modern physics. Excitation energy.
That's a different thing. That was the first order differential equation was there. The lambda is equal to e की power minus t lambda. That was a different thing. That was not related to the energy. That's what related to the decaying material for the carbon dating purpose. They are not energy for the energy.
Okay, is it clear to you? Okay, so in your question, see, when the two chlorine atoms are the joined with the merged with the bonding formation with one sodium atom, definitely it forms a bonding. It's kinds the excess electrons will be there. That's only the case with reference to your example. What I feel. Okay, one chlorine atom will again combine with the sodium atom and it forms the ionic bonding, and rest the electron it doesn't have a position for that, the states for that, so it remains as a free electron, it seems.
Sir, if we look at the configuration of sodium atom, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So if sodium atom, it has one electron in the outermost orbit, that is 3s subcell. So one electron it will lose, or one electron it can gain. There are two possibilities. If one sodium atom is present and the two chloride atom is present, so it means it has to lose 2 electron. So if it loses 2 electron, it means it loses 1 electron from 3s and 1 electron from 2p6. But here, sir, one rule we have learned in our previous classes, like in PUC also in chemistry, that 2p6 is full-filled. So why it will lose, sir, 1 electron from this p orbital? Because it is full-filled. It is not half-filled. It is already stable, sir. In p subcell we have 6 electron and it is already paired. So why it will lose one more extra electron?
That's why I'm saying if you give the energy, then only it loses. Otherwise, why it's lose? It will already gain the halogen family, helium, neon, argon. They want stability. Then why should we lose? That's why I'm saying from the beginning only.
That was the only my question, that I said only one sodium atom is present and two chloride atom. But you said that okay, it will make bond if we give energy. How come that is possible? Why it will become like that?
See, if you want to break your stability, then you have to give energy. When you give the energy, the outermost electron will be released our electron. Then we'll make it bond to the other atom also. It's possible.
But my question was not. I haven't discussed about that heat. I simply said that only one sodium atom is present and two chloride atom is present. Will it make bond or not? I haven't discussed about the heating case and something like nothing. It is the natural phenomena at room temperature. what will happen? That was my question, not that I'm giving external heat or anything to it.
At room temperature, it will make only one bond.
That was the only question. No, I have said. I know that if we give energy, then only it will, because why it will make? System wants stability. If it is already stable, then why it will be? It will lose one electron to get instability.
I think what you are thinking is also right. See, when sodium has got only one electron in the outermost orbit, and when you look at the chlorine, so it has got just one scarcity of electron that will be taken by the sodium, and definitely it gets top shell get the filled for the both elements. You are saying that there is a one sodium atom and two chlorine atoms. In such case, so this bond formation will take place in the under the room temperature conditions here. But when you since there is a one more chlorine atom left over here, if you provide some extra energy, then only the outermost bond of sodium will break, and that forms the bonding with chlorine. Until unless at room temperature just only one bond formation takes place, in my opinion. Okay. Do you have
So, sir, it will not form, sir, bond, sir, because I have not heard that NaCl2 something exists in the compound form. I have not heard it.
let me talk to the chemistry people if they are if they can give answer for this. Let me obtain solution for that. Your question is one sodium atom and two chlorine atoms, whether bond formation takes place or not. That is the question.
Sir, please be a bit louder, sir. You are not audible, sir.
Yeah, your question is one sodium atom and two chlorine atoms. This is a separate case issue. This is a case. We will see that. We'll just inquire with the chemistry teachers. Let us see that whether they can answer this, whether bond formation takes place or not. Okay, we'll just discuss this little later. I hope for the time being you are cleared with the situation like we have equal number of the sodium and the chlorine atoms. When there are equal number, definitely the bond formation takes place here. When the number is when there is a difference in the number, then the issue will rise. We will see whether in such cases bond formation takes place or not. Okay.
Yes, sir, no problem, sir.
All right. Okay. So this is what the crystal what you see is in a 3 dimension, as you can see here. Okay. So we have a sodium atom. There is a bond. In these examples, what you are seeing here, there are equal number of sodium and chlorine atoms here. So your doubt or will not arise in this case. Only when there is a difference in the number of chlorine and sodium atoms, then the question comes whether bond formation takes place or not. Okay. So that's about this. This is ionic bonding. I think there's few examples. It goes beyond. Let me conclude this ionic bonding formation. Let me move on to the another bonding called as covalent bonding. I think that gives you more clear answer for the questions related to ionic bonding as well. Okay. So we know that in the last class we discussed about covalent bonding. Covalent bonding is nothing but equal sharing of electrons between the two atoms. That's called covalent bonding. When two atoms share electrons. Here we will start to understand covalent bonding. So you can see that how covalent bonds work. Let's experiment with two atoms. There are two atoms what you are seeing here. One is on the left side, other one is going to be on the right side. So these two are going to be the hydrogen atoms, and let us move these atoms very close to each other and see what is going to happen. I am just bringing another atom very close to each other. You can see now. Okay. So in this both the atoms there are equal number of electrons. You can see here. Question rises here whether they are attracting or repulsion. Okay. When, in my opinion, when the two forces are equal, attraction and repulsion are equal, then they are going to be stable. Okay. If I bring very close to each other, now you can see what is going to happen. So the other atom keeps moving away. Okay. So as long as the force try to balance each other, those complete solid atoms will be intact. Okay. Otherwise, when there is a unbalance, you can see that the movement of other atom in this example. Okay. Is it clear to you this simulation or what it is showing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's move to the next part here.
Sir, is it happening because of electron pair repulsion, sir? Electron repulsion between electron and electron.
should also see that when I bring atoms, when the other atom close to this hydrogen atom here, it started, the electron keeps sharing between these two atoms here. When I move further, what is happening is it is actually the repulsion. The protons inside this and protons in other atom, they tend to repel each other because they are of like charges. They tend to repel each other. Even though at the outside, the orbitals, you can see the electron which are sharing, energy levels will be shared, electron energy gets shared. But within that, there is a protons which when we bring close to each other, then the repulsion will takes place in that case. So when these two forces, the attraction and repulsion, when they balance each other, then definitely the complete solid element lattice will be intact. Otherwise, there is a movement will takes place here. Okay, and also we should see in every solid material, each atom will try to oscillate at its own place. So because of that, if you look at a metal, when electron keep moving, because of atoms vibrate at its own place, it causes many times a scattering effect also. So that we will see in the coming class, how exactly scattering effect causes resistance to the movement of electrons. But here, what we need to understand here is when the two atoms has got the equal number of electrons, in this case in the outermost, both are going to be the hydrogen atoms, and they have got 2 electrons each one of them. When you bring the right side of the atom to the left side one, as you can see that there is a electron interaction takes place here, and the energy levels get the mixed up, balance each other, and that forms covalent bonding. Further movement of atom very close to the other one, so repulsion will take place here because of the protons within that nucleus region, they tend to repel each other. Okay, before we continue, to be sure that the answer to the following question is, how is the movement of electrons different from the atoms are close, when the atoms are close? As you are seeing that electron movement as is going to be strong when we bring atom to the close to each other. What happens if you try to move the atoms very close to each other? When we move atoms very close to each other, you have seen the repulsion. Okay, and that answer will be given here. In an image line, that's what previous question was asked, and we have answered that. And here, this example, you can see that there are lines you are seeing here in this example here. So this lines shows that this line has been added showing that attraction between the nucleus on the left for its as for its own electron. On the right side, what you can see, the atom on the right has the same attraction for its own electron, but it is not being shown here in this case. But here we have shown the lines here so that attract of electrons, attraction of the nucleus for its own electron. That's what you are seeing here. So now we will see what happens when we bring these two atoms close to each other in the next thing. Okay, you can see here, in this case, what is going to happen here. So when the two atoms get close enough, we begin to see nucleus on the left weakly attracting the other atom's electrons. Are you observing this one here? Okay, so here in this example, what it is showing is the electron, what it is earlier, it was attracted by its own nucleus. Now when we bring the other atom close to this, you are seeing here the weak attraction of this particular atom of its own electrons here. Okay, so that means there is again the force which is exerted by this particular atom. Okay, that's why you are seeing here the weak attraction of electrons by its own nucleus. Okay, that's what you are seeing here. Okay, so when the two atoms get even closer, the nucleus on the left has a strong attraction. When you bring very much close to each other, you can see now attraction for both its own electron and electron from other atom also. Okay, so you can see now this electron get attracted to this because of the nucleus present here, attracts its own electrons as well as electron from the other atom as well. So at this point, both atoms are attracting both electrons. So we can see that the electrons spend almost all of their time between the two nucleus here. Okay, so this is in between that electrons are spending its own time. If we also show the attractions from the other nucleus, you can see that it is also pulling on the both electrons. This kind of the forces is very important in understanding this covalent kind of bonding. And so far, what we understood from the textbook is covalent bonding is just a process of sharing electron between the two atoms. I mean equal sharing of electron between the two atoms. Now you are seeing here really in practical isolated atoms, when two isolated atoms are brought together, what kind of forces are exerted between those two you are observing, the practically here. Okay. Next, let us see now here. So this is a covalent bond now. Okay, this is a covalent bond. Covalent bond means, this you can assume both are silicon. So you are just seeing here an electron shared by this and electron shared by this. The atoms are not really sharing electrons in this case, okay, as much as they are fighting over them, okay, because this wants to get attract here and this electron present here wants to get attract here. So they are fighting for that. So they are both trying to attract the same electrons, but neither one can actually take them away from the other. This creates a situation in which both atoms are pulled together. I hope this is clear to you. Okay. So here what we thought earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions on that? So this kind of the bonding is called the covalent bonding. So the atoms here, they are not really sharing as much as they are fighting over them. They are both trying to attract the same electrons, but neither one actually can take away from them. That means this electron is attracted by its own nucleus, and this electron is this particular electron is attracted by its own nucleus. They are trying to retain that electron. Okay, so that in that process, the covalent bonding takes place. In real, covalent bonding is not sharing any electrons. Okay, let's take a moment and look at what kind of atoms will form a covalent bonds. Okay, so here you can see that these are all metals. Okay, so now you can see here whether metals form a covalent bond or not. So in each region of a periodic table, would you find atoms that attract electrons strongly? Sorry, metals don't hold onto their electrons very well, so this is not responsible for the formation of covalent bonds. Let us see whether non-metals forms a covalent bond or not. So if you look at here in this region of a periodic table, so non-metals are residing. So therefore, non-metals tend to be good to take at taking electrons from the other atoms here. Okay. So therefore, these are responsible for the formation of the covalent bond here. Okay. So next here, a covalent bond forms between the two non-metals. I hope it is clear to you now. Earlier, see, you cannot club just a sodium to or any chlorine in formation of the covalent bonding. A covalent bond forms between the two non-metals here. Of course, chlorine is can be used as to the formation of covalent bond, but this non-metals, like example we are given silicon or carbon, that is that forms covalent bond between the two atoms. Each atom attracts each electron. So each electron, this pulls the atoms together. Okay, this pulling forms a covalent bonding. So note that hydrogen is considered a non-metal and will form covalent bonds with other non-metals also. So hydrogen bottom is, even though it's located on the left side of the periodic table, so that is also will form a covalent bond with other non-metals. Okay, hydrogen and there are many other non-metals that forms a covalent bond. Now let us take a look at the covalent bond from other point of view. How is energy involved in the formation of the covalent bond? You can see now here this example will illustrate the y-axis is going to be the potential energy, and you are seeing here again two atoms here which are far away from each other. So we will look at the energy aspects of the covalent bonds now. Now let us try to move slowly the nucleus on the right side closer to the nucleus on the left side. What I will try to do in this example is, I will try to move this particular atom, I mean the nucleus, to the atom which is present on the left side, and observe this what is going to happen here. I am just bringing very close to that. Did you observe that what happened? Yeah, any answers from your side?
It's a repulsion.
Once again I repeat it, just closely observe it, and I just want to know from your side what happens to the potential energy. Okay, when I bring this right side atom to the left side, observe the change in potential energy. Okay, when I hold some distance between them, observe potential energy. When I move very much closer to the other atom, observe the potential energy. So these are the observations you need to make here. Okay, let me go back and let me again do the same experiment. So you can see, observe here, I am bringing the atom on the right side very close to the left side, you can see here. So you can observe here the potential energy is decreasing, decreasing, decreasing. I'm just holding very close to each other. Now you can see the potential energy starts increasing now. Okay, this is what the observation you need to make here. Okay, the explanation of that is, did you understand this experiment now here? What happened here? When these two atoms are very far away, and when I bring right side right atom to very close to the left atom here, the potential energy starts decreasing. When I bring very much close to each other, then potential energy starts increasing here. Let us see that how this explanation can be given here. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay, you should notice that a couple of things from this graph. As atoms move closer, the potential energy decreases. That's what you have seen. This is because each nucleus is attracting the other atom's electron, okay, more and more strongly. So this nucleus is attracting the electrons from this, so therefore the potential energy keeps decreases. And after a certain point of time, the potential energy starts increasing if you try to move the atoms further closer. This is because the protons in each nucleus starts repelling each other. So because of that, potential energy starts increasing. Okay. Earlier you have seen that the electron starts attracted by the protons here. When you move further close to each other, because the protons which is present here get repelled with the proton present here. Therefore, you will see the repulsion in the protons. So therefore, the potential energy starts increasing. So when the atoms are arranged so that potential energy is that at a minimum is minimum or at a most stable balance, because here to understand the stability in solids, this experiment plays a very important role. This is called as a bond length. So when the atoms are at a sufficient distance, then the electrons here, you see that there is again these electrons get attracted by the protons here and as well as proton here. Therefore, they maintain a balancing here. So that's what it is told here. When the atoms are arranged so that the potential energy is at a minimum, okay, when the potential energy is at a minimum, they are at almost stable. There is a stable balance between the attraction and repulsion that are occurring. Okay, so in this example, you can see that there is again attraction and repulsion both are going to be in stable conditions. So that means potential energy is going to be minimum. The distance between the atoms at this point is going to be the bond length. So this distance, whatever you are seeing here, to maintain the stable conditions, the attraction force of this proton for the electron present here and the proton repulsion, both are balanced each other. That happens only when the potential energy is going to be minimum. So as further if you bring here, as we have seen in the experiment, the potential energy keeps increasing because the protons here get repelled from the proton here. Okay. So the point here, the point where the atoms are lowest in potential energy is where they are most stable. That's what we have seen. Right now we are seeing a stability condition here. In other words, they are more stable when they are bonded together than when they are apart from each other. So you will find the idea is repeated in other areas of chemistry as well as lower in energy is more stable. Okay, that's what we made an observation here. So you can see here in this case between two hydrogen atoms there is again a single bond formation, and you can also see in other kind of molecules you can see the double bond formation between the two oxygen atoms, and we can see triple bond also between two nitrogen atoms here. So this is how the bond formation takes place from weakest. The single bond is always weakest and triple bond is going to be always strongest bond. Okay, I think that will gives you the overall picture of the covalent bond formation, and this is relevant to other things, and I would like to stop at this point the applet part. So before I stop, if you have any questions related to the covalent bond formation, I can take up, and otherwise we'll move to our regular material of the syllabus. Do you have any questions, students? Are you able to understand the simulation part? The applet which was shown, which illustrates both ionic and covalent bonding. So just note down this link, and if you can just run this app anytime, and you can just understand the working of that. Okay, now let us come back to this energy bands. I hope with that this to continue further, it becomes very easy for us. So in energy bands, what we have seen here is when the isolated atoms are brought together, it forms a solid, and various interactions occur between them. We have seen already attraction and repulsion between the atoms. We will find a balance at proper interatomic spacing for the crystal. Just now we have seen that. In the process, important changes occurs in the electron energy level configurations, and these changes result in varied electrical properties of the solids. Now let us consider the orbital model of a silicon, which you are seeing here. This model is also called as a Bohr's model. Bohr's, he has developed his own model giving explanation. So exactly the orbital energy in an atom looks like. It's almost like a planetary system or solar system what you are seeing here. Okay. So along with the energy levels of various electrons in the Coulombic potential well of the nucleus. Okay. So here if we can focus here, the outermost shell is called as a valence shell, where energy level n is equal to 3. So this is going to be the energy level n is equal to 3. Let me show you. So this is the energy level n is equal to 3 here. This shell, this level and this level forms a valence shell, or you can call that as both of them as valence orbit. Each one of this orbit holds 2 electrons here. Okay. So 3s shell holds 2 electrons, 3p shell holds 2 electrons. Okay. Therefore, totally there are 4 electrons in this silicon orbital model. Okay. And inner electrons or inner orbits, the electron present in those are called as core electrons here. Okay. Now here the outermost electrons are now tend to be removed with the excitation whatever you apply, either in the form of thermal energy or optical excitation. The outer electrons, like electrons present in the 3s shell and 3p shell, can be easily removed via the excitation. And here one more concept which we would like to understand here is interaction, what happens when you bring many atoms together. So it forms a hybridization. Hybridization means the energy level gets changed. I mean the electrons get adjust accordingly, and it forms what is called as sp3 orbitals. Okay. The states itself, the electrons itself, get adjusted. That's called as hybridization. Okay. And it forms what is called as sp3 hybridization. Okay. Orbitals it forms here. This sp3 hybridization orbital will explain it little later. This happens only when atoms are brought close to each other, close together here. This what you are seeing here is going to be the isolated atom here. When we bring many atoms close to each other, the formation of the hybridization takes place, sp3 orbital formation takes place. So electrons themselves get aligned and forms the covalent bond. So covalent bond formation happens with sp3 orbital formation. Okay. To illustrate with the more details, you can see that the silicon with its atomic number 14, this is what electronic configuration. 1s2, this is first orbit, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2 and 3p2. And this is what we told here. This 3s2 and the 3p shells, 3s and 3p shells forms the hybridized sp3 orbitals here. And if you look at energy levels, when two atoms when they are brought together, you will see here both anti-bonding energy level and bonding energy levels here. Okay, which you are seeing here. So this is one particular atom, this is another atom. When these two atoms are brought to close to each other, you can see that they forms the potential well here, and there is a sharing of electron takes place from the outermost level. And again, the two things can happen between the two atoms, a bonding and anti-bonding energy level here. And if you look at a wave function here with reference to the nucleus of each of this atom here, this is a vertical line represents the nucleus, and psi1 represents the wave function. This is written in accordance with the Schrödinger equation. Okay, so the wave function phi1, if you look at here, you can see that here it start decreasing, and as you move towards the nucleus region, the wave functions starts increasing here. This is for the isolated atom here. When you bring two atoms close to each other, the wave functions of atom 1 will get merged with the wave function of atom 2, and there's interaction takes place. It is what the region where there is an interaction here. Interaction can happen at two different way. One way is anti-bonding level, and other way is going to be the bonding level also it takes place here. We already said about this, there is attraction and repulsion. Because of this anti-bonding orbital, there is a attraction, and because of this bonding orbital, there is a repulsion. So these two forces will balance each other, and as we already told in the simulation also, when the potential energy is minimum, these two forces will balance each other. Okay. Also, there is a Coulomb figure B shows, this is a figure B which shows Coulombic potential well of two atoms which are close to each other, along with the wave functions as shown here of two electrons centered on the two nuclei. Even though in our example we have shown for two atoms, but in practically you have to draw this for multiple atoms. Okay. By solving Schrödinger equation, as we mentioned in earlier class, Schrödinger equation will tell you the probability of electrons where they are residing. Okay. So if you solve the Schrödinger equation for such an interacting kind of the system, we can find the composite of two electron wave functions, and they are going to be linear combinations of individual atomic orbitals here. Shortly we call this as LCAO. There can be even odd and even kind of the combination here. Odd combination forms antisymmetric combination, and even forms even a combination forces causes symmetric combination here. Symmetric is nothing but bonding orbital, and antisymmetric is called as a symmetric combination is called anti-bonding orbital. This was shown in the previous diagram also. Once again we are giving here how this anti-bonding orbital formation takes place and bonding orbital takes place here. So bonding orbital has higher value of wave function, and therefore electron probability density is high. Okay. Anti-bonding orbital has lower value of the wave function, and therefore electron probability density is going to be very low for that. So this anti-bonding and bonding is between the region between the two nuclei. Okay. The above description which corresponds to the covalent bond between the atoms here. Okay. Now to determine the energy levels of the bonding and anti-bonding states, it's important to recognize that in the region between the two nuclei there is a Coulombic potential energy which is shown by V of R. So you have seen here in the diagram this vertical line here, line here shows V of R is nothing but the Coulombic potential energy function. Okay. As you go deeper, when there are isolated atoms are there, that's going to be when the two nuclei, when it recognizes the region between the two nuclei, that's indicated as V of R, which is lower compared to the isolated atoms. When you see isolated atoms, V of R going to be very high, and that gets lower when you have many atoms when they are brought together. The main reason for lower potential energy, that is V of R, is due to the attraction of electron between the two nuclei rather than one. This we have seen the simulation. This okay. For the bonding state, the electron's probability density function is higher in this region, so lower potential energy than for the anti-bonding state. This is already clear in the previous examples here. Okay. As a result, the original isolated atomic energy level would be split into two: lower bonding energy level and higher bonding level. Okay. And here you can see that the few more details I have given here related to the probability density function. Remember that our syllabus talks only about the qualitative analysis. You need not derive any mathematical equation for this. Okay. And here the wave function, probability density function PDF, is nothing but square of the wave function which is given by Schrödinger equation to eliminate the negative sign here. And number of distinct LCAO and number of distinct energy levels, it all depends on the number of atoms which are brought close to each other. Lowest energy level corresponds to the total symmetric LCAO. LCAO corresponds to linear combination of atomic orbitals. Highest energy level corresponds to the antisymmetric LCAO. Okay. When the atoms are brought together, the application of Paulus exclusion principle becomes an important. Last class we summarized about Paulus exclusion principle. That states that electron tend to occupy lower energy states when two atoms are completely isolated from each other, so that there is no interaction of the electron wave functions because they can have identical electronic structures. As the spacing between the atoms become very small, the electron wave function begin to overlap. Okay, that's what you are seeing here in this diagram. When the atoms brought close to each other, the wave function will start overlapping here. You are seeing even here the wave function overlapping for the two atoms here. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we will see that in any solid, when you bring atoms together, there is a split of energy levels, which forms essentially continuous band of energies. So far, when we have seen isolated atoms or individual atoms, their energy levels are, we have shown as accordance with the Bohr's model. But when you bring many atoms together, so you have to represent that as a band of energies instead of calling as energy levels. Now let us see with reference to silicon crystal, when isolated silicon atoms, when they are brought together to form a solid, so how exactly the formation of band of energies occurs, we will see with reference to silicon crystal. Let's again review the electronic configuration of silicon, which is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p2. Totally it has got 14 atomic number. Outermost orbit contains 4, valence orbit contains 4 electrons in the, this is actually for isolated atom. Now for individual atom, you can see that there are two 1s states, two 1s states. That means this 1s state can hold 2 electrons, and two 2s states. Okay, that means this 2s state can hold 2 electron, 2p state can hold 6 electron in all three directions here. 2p state can be further subdivided into 2px, 2py, 2pz, and each 2px holds 2 electron, 2py holds 2 electron, 2pz holds another 2 electrons. And here I would like to interrupt in between and show you the electronic configuration of silicon, so that you understand better. Yeah, if you can look at here, I have passed on a material to you that this is what bonding formation. Yeah, this here you can see that atomic orbital, electronic configuration, this we have discussed in the last class itself. Just to show for your reference. Okay, now you can see here, let me pick silicon, and this is what I was talking to you in the notes material. So here 3s and 3p. Okay, you can see here this is 1s, which holds 2 electrons with opposite spins. This upward arrow mark indicates positive spin, lower arrow mark indicates negative spin. This is for the silicon electronic configuration. As you have seen in electronic configuration as well, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. You can see 1s, 2 electrons are there, 2s, 2 electron, 2p, 6 electrons are there. I have subdivided that into the 2px, 2py, and 2pz. Each contains 2 electron. Okay. Lastly, these 3s and 3p forms valence orbit. 3s has got 2 electron and 3p has got 2 electron. And even while writing this spins, you should be careful here. Reason is you should space one kind of spin first, then you should place opposite kind of spins. Okay. Otherwise, the spin representation becomes wrong. So here you are seeing here, this is one spin I have placed here upward, a positive spin, and I cannot place negative spin here, so that I should complete first positive spin in all this x, y, and z direction. Then only I can choose negative spin. Okay. This arrow mark indicates a spin. Okay. So I hope it is clear to you. So there are 2 electrons. Let me show here. This can hold 2 electrons. This has this 1s state. 2s state also can hold 2 electrons, 2p state can hold 6 electrons, 3s can hold 2 electrons, 3p can hold 6 electrons here. Since it is number of electrons available in silicon is only 14, so there is the outermost shell is partially filled, it is not completely filled. Still it can accommodate 4 more electrons in this 3p orbital. Okay. Okay. Now let us see this, whatever we discussed just so far is a individual or isolated atom. Let's take a situation like when we have n number of atoms are brought together. Okay, n can be any number, it can be 100, 200, something like that. when we bring n, let's assume that in our case n is equal to 100. So when we consider 100 atoms when we brought together, okay, how exactly the states, okay, how many electrons each state can hold, that's what I am trying to make it clear. Okay, so here 1s state will hold 2n electrons, 2s state can hold 2n electrons again. This is written as per this electron configuration, and this is followed as per this only. Okay, since n number of this for individual atom, 1s can hold 2 electrons. For n number of atoms, 1s can hold 2n number of electrons. Similarly, for 2s state, for the individual atom, 2 electrons it can hold, whereas for n number of atoms, 2n electrons it can hold. Likewise, if you proceed further, 2p electron can hold 6n electron, 3s electron can hold 2n electron, lastly 3p electron can hold 6n electrons. So these two last two orbitals, 3s and 3p, as we said, it forms a valence orbit. In case of isolated atom, 3s and 3p forms a valence orbit. In case of n number of atoms are solid, 3s and 3p forms a valence band. Okay, it's not an orbit, we should call as a band here. So now we will see an perceptual view.
Sir,
Yeah.
sorry to have interrupted you, sir. Sir, we have to join another class.
Okay, then I will stop at this point.
Yes, sir.
Next class we will continue with perceptual view of this
Yes, thanks.
n number of atoms. Okay. Okay. Thank you all for watching this video.
Thanks.